We also welcome community media and the Gettysburg Times. This November, school district residents will elect 4 candidates to serve on the board from a slate of 8. Julietta Booz, Dale Brennan, Donna Harrison, Kathleen Pratt, Justine Sieg, David Seitz, Michelle Smyers, and Charles Wise. Tonight, we are thankful to have 4 of those candidates in attendance. Ms. Booz, Ms. Harrison.
It's Bose.
Bose, I very much apologize for that. I thank you. Ms. Bose, Ms. Harrison, Ms. Pratt, Mr. Wise, and a proxy for Mr. Brennan who will deliver an opening remark. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to give an opening statement before we move on to the questions. Mr. Brennan's proxy will deliver a 5-minute statement, but he will not participate in the Q&A. And then each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. If a candidate is specifically mentioned by the other candidate, the candidate mentioned will have 1 minute to rebut. Timing will be conducted by the members of the Patrick Henry Debate Society with cue cards at 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and time raised within a candidate's line of sight. I will interrupt the candidates if they continue talking beyond their allotted time. And like I said, I'm thrilled to see so many people out here tonight. Civil dialogue is very important in our election process. And we also really want to thank the candidates for being here today. Running for political office, especially in your local community, is no easy feat. And running for school board, especially because that is an all-volunteer position. So they're taking the time out of their busy lives to not only run for this, but potentially serve you in the next 4 years. So you guys don't really have here much of a role here tonight. Your role is to listen. We want this to be very smooth and productive, and an outburst of any kind, including clapping, will not be tolerated because sometimes that can just go on and take away from the attention of the evening. But like I said, we do have student volunteers who have cards available. If you have a question, just raise your hand. A student volunteer will bring the card and then deliver it to me, and we'll get to those cards as time allots. So without further ado, we'll begin our debate with the opening remarks. And we have Joe Saylor, who will be giving an introduction on behalf of Mr. Brennan.
Good evening, everyone. I don't know if everybody can hear me.
Can you move it a little closer, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this good? All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Saylor. I'm here on behalf of Dale Brennan today. He is a candidate for the Gettysburg Area School District who could not be here due to a prior campaign agreement. Dale Brennan will bring real-world public school experience to the Gettysburg Area School District School Board. He is a retired public school teacher from Maryland with more than 30 years of public school experience. Seeing firsthand how school board policies and decisions that don't prioritize students can affect the culture of an entire school or community is one of Dale's biggest points of concentration. During his tenure in the classroom, Mr. Brennan has also served as a social studies teacher and a baseball coach, as well as served as the varsity volleyball team coach for 15 years and 19 years respectively. He also has sponsored many national student clubs, including the History Club and Rho Kappa National Honor Society. In other words, Mr. Brennan's entire adult life has been dedicated to helping young people build for their future. Bringing this experience into public schools in the Gettysburg Area School District, bringing this experience into public schools at the Gettysburg Area School District, Mr. Brennan understands the importance of involving the community and taking into account how something affects students and staff before making any decision. Understanding the importance of involving the whole community in our children's education, Mr. Brennan promises to visit all GASD schools on a regular basis, listening to those who best know what our schools need, our teachers, administrators, and support staff. He will keep an open line of communication with the community at large in order to listen to their concerns and suggestions about the Gettysburg Area School District. Perhaps the most important issue facing any school district nowadays is the budget and the taxes that fund those budgets. A balanced budget covers basic needs such as teacher salaries, facility maintenance, and while also allowing the school district to plan for a future that is brighter than the one we are currently living in. A school board must identify ways to efficiently and effectively use school resources in order to support student achievement and promote equitable educational opportunities for all students. With changing opportunities, and resources, or with changing priorities at the federal level, Mr. Brennan believes that it's time for the school districts to look at a non-traditional way to help students supplement public school budgets. This begins involving all the stakeholders in the community. School board members, business leaders, school staff, and parents must join together in addressing the most important issues. Being aware of these obstacles he is facing with school districts, Mr. Brennan will never vote to raise taxes until he is assured that the school board has, in good faith, explored other options to fund schools rather than place the burden squarely on the citizens of our community. Thank you for your time, and remember to vote for Dale Brennan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saylor. We appreciate you coming out here tonight on behalf of Mr. Brennan. You may take a seat in the audience. Ms. Bose, your opening remark, please.
Hi, I'm Julietta Bose, and I am running for the Gettysburg Area School District. First, I want to thank everybody for putting this event together. I've done similar events in my past, and I appreciate all the hard work it takes to pull something off like this. I think it's important as a person or everyone to be on the school board because our children are our investment in our future. Today's students are the ones that are going to be our future caregivers, our future artists, our future engineers, our future tradespersons, and people we don't even know what careers they're going to imagine. And I want to make sure that on the school board, I can provide the tools and resources that all the students need so that they can fulfill their dreams as well as become contributing adults to our community. And I believe I can do that because I'm a retired naval program manager. And part of my work as a program manager was to listen to all the stakeholders, all the diverse specialties that would come to the table to be able to deliver capabilities for our sailors and Marines. I also had to talk to those sailors and Marines and understand what we did right and what we did wrong and try to fix those efforts. And then on the other side, we would have to work with budgets that Congress would authorize us. Sometimes we'd get the money, sometimes we didn't, but we still had to be able to provide those capabilities. And I can do the same things for the students here in the Gettysburg Area School District. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bose. Ms. Harrison, your opening remark, please.
All right, good evening, and thank you everyone for coming out this evening, as well as the people who have put this program together this evening. I'm going to spend a good bit of my introduction telling you about where I've been in the district. I have spent my entire year or lifetime in this district. I was born and raised here. I went to school 1st through 12th grade. I say 1st grade because many of you will know when I started school there was no kindergarten, so that kind of tells you my age. And then I started teaching at Franklin Township in 1981, and I spent 30 years teaching in the district. And getting close to the end of my teaching career, I thought, oh, I need something more, so I'm back for my master's and got my degree in administration and decided if something came up in the Gettysburg School District, I would look into it. I wasn't moving districts. My heart was in Gettysburg, and I was staying here. And lo and behold, the principal at James Gettys retired, and that position became available, and I interviewed and got it. So it was another 8 years that I spent in the district. So I spent 38 years in the district, a district that I love, and a district where my heart is. So that was the reason why I decided to run for school board. I thought, well, it's the only thing I haven't done in the district yet, so I might as well run for school board, right? And I love this district. I think there is so much the board can give to these students. And our business is the children. And that's what it comes down to, is this school board needs to make decisions that are in the best interest of the children of the future. And as you said, the children in the healthcare systems, and who knows what they're going to be. But anyhow, thank you for inviting me this evening. I look forward to answering other questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harrison. Ms. Pratt, your remarks, please.
Yes, hi, good evening. Authenticity is really important, and I point that out to you because I have a new campaign card with a new updated photo of me, thanks to a dear friend who took it when another dear friend said, Kathleen, you really don't look like your old headshot. But anyway, I bring this up, the card up, not so much for that, but authenticity is important because there are 3 statements on my card that I really want to share with you. They're not just pretty words. These are 3 statements I believe in. These are 3 statements that I have a lived experience in. I have a strong record of serving on our school board from 2017 to 2021 of 3 things. I have a proven record of common sense taxation. When we were deep in the throes of the pandemic, that was not the time to raise taxes on a community that was stressed financially and stressed emotionally. I have a strong record of expanding opportunities for students. I'm happy to tell you our high school has a women's wrestling team, which is something I was a proponent of when I served on the board the first time. And I respect the expertise of teachers. I think it is not a board member's role to micromanage the expertise of our teachers. They have been hired and selected because they are the best, and our district has the best. Now, a board member's role is to, I don't want to say micromanage, but is to manage policy, and the policy governs curriculum. So in 30 seconds, a few quick things about me, why I'm running for school board again. I'm actually serving on the school board again in a 6-month appointed term that started in June and will end at the end of November. I'm running again because we are facing, again, unprecedented times like we faced during the pandemic when I first served. We have a Department of Education at the federal level that is dismantling. We have federal rescission on funds. This will impact our students, all students.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pratt, and we will close our opening remarks with Mr. Wise.
Hi. Thank you for having us all here. Thank you to the Eisenhower Institute. Thank you for all for coming. My name's Char Wise. I'm a economics professor at Gettysburg College right here. Many of you know that. I have lived in Gettysburg with my wife for 25 years. We had 3 children who went through the school district from K through 12. So I am very familiar with this community, very devoted to this community and to its schools. I decided to enter this race because I, like Kathleen, am very concerned about the environment, the challenging financial environment and political environment that face us. We have budgetary stresses right now already, and there is more coming with federal cutbacks, possibly state cutbacks. We don't really know the full extent. So we need people who are level-headed, reasonable, compassionate people to be on the school board who can help this community navigate through those difficult times. I think, I see in addition to these stresses, I see a federal government that is trying to intercede in decisions that belong to this community that do not belong to the federal government, to try to dictate policies that really the members of this community need to be in charge of. And I'm thinking of things like LGBT policies. I'm thinking of DEI policies. We can disagree about these things, but these are our choices, not the federal government. And I pledge to do what I can to insulate our students and the schools from that kind of pressure and to, I'm going to finish my sentence.
No, wait, I did not finish mine, Char. You're done.
I'm done.
Thank you very much to our candidates for your opening remarks and your friendliness. It's a little refreshing. All right, we're going to get on to the Q&A portion. I have a few questions that are prepared, and then, like I said, after I get through those, we will have our students go around and collect those that you have prepared for them. All right, first question is, please explain what you believe to be the duties of a Gettysburg area school board member. And Ms. Harrison, we will start with you.
Absolutely. So a school board member's main job is to oversee what's happening in the district, not to micromanage the district. The school board needs to make sure that In our buildings are highly qualified teachers, highly qualified administrators, and we put the trust in them. Our administration, not just our teachers, not just our students, not just our community, for all of the stakeholders in the district.
Thank you very much. Ms. Pratt, same question.
Yeah, I'll keep this really simple. Having served on the board for 4 years, and I'm back on it now for 6 months, I will tell you that there really are 3 primary duties of a school board member. That is, we hire and we manage the superintendent of the district, and then we entrust that superintendent and their administrators to hire and manage faculty and staff. Number 2, we are really in charge of policy. Now, we create, we update, we manage policy, but in partnership with the other district stakeholders. So there is a policy committee. It includes board members, it includes teachers, it includes staff. Those meetings are open to the public. You're invited to come. You wouldn't be on the committee, but you could be there and there's public comment there for you to contribute in that way as well. And then finally, the money. So the third role of the school board member is really to approve budgets and spending. And anything beyond that is overreach and frankly inappropriate.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wise, same question.
Well, some of the roles of the school board have been already mentioned, oversight, the budget. So I'll just point out a couple of things that I think are really important. Hire the best people we possibly can hire and let them do their jobs, trust them to do their jobs as they were trained. Provide the resources to the school district so that they can provide a great education for our students. And in terms of the first thing I said, there was an issue with a coach who, the football coach whose contract was up, and the school board put it upon itself to make the decision that they were going to approve or not approve this coach, and that is an example of this kind of overreach that we've seen. That you hire a superintendent, principals, athletic director. Those are the people who should be entrusted to make that kind of a decision. That's all I've got.
That's good.
Thank you very much, and we'll close that question with Ms. Bose.
Aye. Pretty much all the same things. When you're looking at hiring the superintendent, that's the person that's in charge. In my life, as my career as a program manager, we would delegate the work down. So if the program manager was selected, or the person below that, we would always inform the program manager, or in our case, I would inform an admiral or the people up. We gave it as information, but it was never a decision associated with that. When we look at overseeing policy, Kathleen says we're allowed to come to them. I've been going to them, and I find them interesting because when you go to the board meetings, they just present the document, but when you go to the policy meetings, you understand what's going on and what's the information behind that. And the other thing about policy, and from my experience as a program manager, is the unintended consequences. Back in 2023, they changed one line in one of the policies associated with hiring additional staff, which included coaches, which then forced that every year people have to reapply. And it never happened before. I still haven't figured out from the minutes why that happened, but it's extra work that we really don't need. But when you write a policy, you have to be careful of those unintended consequences. And finally, budget. I lived budgets as a program manager. We had to look at the information, and we had to listen to the stakeholders as why their program, their project, their initiative was the most important item. We have the teachers, we have our facilities people, we have our parents, we have the taxpayers, and those people will put those inputs to help us understand how to provide the best budget for our students, faculty, and staff.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bose. Next question. According to enrollment data available on the Pennsylvania Department of Education website, Gettysburg Area School District had 229 less students in the 23-24 school year than it did in 2019-2020. The Department of Education also projects that the district may have 500 less students by 2033-34. How do you believe the district should adapt to the declining enrollment? Ms. Pratt, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, the district does have a 5-year plan, so we do plan, and I say we, I'm on the board for 6 months right now, but we do plan for these things. And, you know, as far as population ebb and flow, there is an ebb and a flow. So we can look at 5 years out, but we can also trend out 10 years or more with some confidence. I mean, you know, there are some uncontrollable variables in there. So I think that a district is wise to allocate funding not just for the number of bodies in seats in the upcoming academic year, but definitely be projecting forward. And I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pratt. Mr. Wise.
I'd like to see the data. Maybe I'll have to look back at the data on that, but I don't believe that the projections are that severe, that the projected growth in student enrollment drops off that much. So I would hesitate to make sort of extreme decisions now when we don't really, I don't think that we see a trend, and maybe I've got some old data that I looked at last, but I did not see that kind of a trend. If there's 200 fewer students, is that what you said? 200 fewer students
Yep.
district-wide, that's only, 40 students fewer per school. So the numbers from the drop from last year to this year is, a couple of dozen students per school. So I don't know that you can really see it in terms of the pressures on class size and so on at the school level. So I guess it would be too early, I think, to make drastic decisions. We see all this growth in housing around the community, around our area, that I imagine could be a source of increased enrollment in the future.
Thank you very much. Ms. Bowes?
Similar question was asked of me back during the primaries, and I tried to do some research with that, trying to validate the data they gave, and then I looked at a couple of other sources, and I couldn't find the right answer. So pretty well told them until I had or saw a demographic study that projected that, I really couldn't say an answer. Well, come in May, Gettysburg School District did fund a demographic study presented at their finances and facilities meeting, and pretty well it said, yes, there's going to be an ebb and flow in the student population over the next 10 years. One of the things that they have and what they did in their model was they were able to project the children, kindergarten through K, based on birth rates and the buildings we had as far as single-family homes. And they said, we'll have an ebb and flow, but really there was no reason to look at cutting back schools or consolidating classrooms or anything like that. But they did warn us, because one of the things that they didn't do in the model are the apartments and the townhouses. So we have our transient people that come into the area that may live for a few years. And one of the comments was there, and I forget which elementary school, but it turned out that one year they had an explosion of children, so to speak, and they were scrambling to find space to put all those children in there. So, yes, there'll be an ebb and flow, but right now we're pretty stable as a community.
Thank you very much, and we'll end that question with Ms. Harrison.
Sure, and I absolutely agree with what you're saying. There are students who come and go all the time in our district, and I do think there are some studies that are showing that our enrollment has dropped. 200 students, and if you follow the math that Mr. Wise was saying, that's not a lot of students. When I was principal, I ended 8 years, when I ended after 8 years, I had 500 students in my building alone, no assistant principal, and our class sizes were 28 to 30. So the drop in some of these, the numbers is actually allowing us to give the children in our districts better education, more one-on-one, more, we have the ability to do more with our students. And so I'm not seeing a drastic drop in that. I do think it is certainly something that we have to watch as school board members and decide what we need to do with that. But right now, when you think about 20 students per class, per building, that's not a lot.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harrison. Next question also pertains to budgets, as we've identified that as one of the school board's primary tasks throughout the year. So if you are elected, what specific budget adjustments or revenue-generating strategies would you support? And Mr. Wise, I believe we're starting with you this time.
Well, this has been a question that comes up in every audience. It's important. I have not been on the inside. I haven't been participating in these discussions about the budget, and so I hesitate to make a firm commitment about this program is going to be cut. I would have to look. So what I'll say is these are the things that I'm going to look at. I am concerned about the cost of the Adams County Technical Institute. This is a vocational education program that is vital for many of our students, and so I support the current system, and I support an expansion of that program. But the plan is to spend $50 million or more on new land, new campus, and that $50 million is divided among the 5 schools in the district, and Gettysburg takes about a third of that, 35%, something like that. And the debt service on that is something north of $1.5 million per year. And so the school district has already, the board has already approved 1% tax hikes every year. That's sort of planning for a 5-year sequence of tax hikes. And that is already squeezing the budget. So I think that this is something that needs to be looked at. The cyber schools are very costly. There's legislation at the state legislature that may be able to control some of those costs, but maybe we have to think about moving more of that in-house. There's a strange issue of the team clubhouse facility at the football, and maybe we'll talk about that later.
Thank you very much. Ms. Bowes, same question.
As a program manager, many times I would get the budget drills, 5% cut, 10% cut, what are you going to do? So when they came down, I would go to my stakeholders and ask them, hey, this is coming. Is there something we can defer, maybe save for next year, alternate years to do? And I would look at those recommendations. Other times, they're just hard answers to look at those recommendations to figure out how we're going to take care of our budget issues. And those answers, we may face those same questions again with future federal cuts and or not getting a state budget. We'll be looking at those kind of questions. So I won't say what I'll cut, but I will listen to the stakeholders to understand what they think is best, because sometimes they'll say, oh, we really don't need to do this, and it saves a fair amount of money. So long as it's, meets state and federal requirements, keeps the safety of our children, and make sure we meet the basic requirements of our students, we'll focus on that. As far as ways as getting more money, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be hard. We have to go, right now, the way the state law is, it's mostly property tax. There are opportunities within the, with our state legislator that perhaps we can get more, well, if they pass a budget, we can get more money. Or we look at the, as Char mentioned, look at the cyber charter schools as capping those costs. And then maybe even beyond that, not worry about that, work with our parents and understand why they're sending the children to alternate schools where we have to pay additional tuition, and see what we can do to accommodate those students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Harrison, same question.
Yes, and I will start with thinking about those cyber schools and the cost that it has in our district. It is a huge cost to our district, and so to look at that and see how we can get some of those students back into our classrooms and use that money wisely within our district. The Adams County Technical Institute is definitely a huge piece in the budget right now, and that program is an awesome program. If you don't know much about it, you may want to read about it, but they turn students away because there's not enough room in that building for students. So I do think, I was just talking to the superintendent and the assistant superintendent the other day, and the board was asked to raise taxes 1.5 mil for that, and they kept it moderate at 1 mil for that. So, I think the thing to look at in a budget is to think smart. Think about what is needed, and I can tell you, running a building budget, there was no fluff in our budget. There was never anything in our budget that we couldn't, and I went back many times to teachers and said, hey, we can't do this. We found other ways of doing things that we wanted to do, but it wasn't through the budget. So from a school board's point of view, we definitely, you want to look at everything in the budget and how many students it affects and how many students are going to benefit from the items in the budget. But again, I say to you, our administrators are excellent administrators, and when they put a budget together, they put a budget together that's tight. So as a school board member, we'll scrutinize over that and talk to administrators and just, take it from there.
Thank you very much. And finally, Ms. Pratt.
I have a Master of Business Administration. I'm a corporate level business person turned business professor. I love talking budgets. I'm not afraid of a big, complicated budget. Budgets for something like a school board are not the same as budgets in our private homes, and they need to be addressed in a multi-pronged approach. I want to talk a minute about budget adjustments. That was one of your questions asked here, and I will tell you, while I'm not afraid of attacking budgets, I am deeply concerned about what this federal rescission will mean for our most vulnerable students. We will lose federal funding for Title I. In our district, we have 3 K through 5 schools. Each one has a reading specialist for our most vulnerable students. Can you imagine a life in which you cannot read? Title I funding pays for those reading specialists. So when we look at the budget, we will have to find a way to protect those positions, and we will protect them while not overburdening the taxpayer. And that's what this next school board, I hope, makes one of its primary objectives. As far as generating revenue, I love that idea. There's something called the PA School Code, and it's the laws that govern public schools in Pennsylvania. The law does not allow non-charter public schools to market. Gettysburg Area School District can't put out a billboard about us. We can't do marketing to try to generate additional revenue beyond your tax dollars. The charter schools can do that. So I feel like we need a legislative liaison from the district working up at the state level to maybe allow public schools, non-charter public schools, let us market ourselves, give us opportunities to generate revenue.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pratt. Next question is, what are your views on the district's policies regarding library and educational resources, and how do you think school libraries contribute to the district? Ms. Bose, we'll start that question with you.
I've looked at the library policy for the school, and I like it because I'm a book lover. I grew up in a house with books. We were floor to ceiling, 2 shelves deep of books. Reading's my life. And for the school district, the library policy is to look and make sure they curate a variety of books on a variety of subjects that's age appropriate to all the students. And I believe they do a good job when I talk to the different parents. And the school teachers, I understand they have their age-appropriate books in there and their efforts there. So I support what the school district is doing with the libraries and the teachers and their books.
Thank you very much. Ms. Harrison.
And I will agree with what you said about our librarians and our teachers. Our librarians in the district do an excellent job of choosing the books that go into there. And no books go into that library without them being board approved first. No books are used in a classroom without them being board approved first. So, you know, people are not sneaking things in and getting their own personal agendas into these libraries. These librarians spend a lot of time. They spend a lot of time teaching children too. You know, I think one of their fears is they're going to be overtaken by the internet and they're not going to need a librarian anymore. But that's not true. I mean, we need those librarians and we need people who are resources for our students. So we do an excellent job with it, and I believe that we need to trust. Again, it comes to we have hired the right people in those librarians and we need to trust their decisions. But those decisions also come back to the board for approval.
Shout out to all librarians. I think they're rock stars. Librarians are hired because of their expertise, and we trust them to select materials that are age appropriate, that are academically appropriate, that are curricularly appropriate. As Ms. Harrison said, yes, the school board does approve the materials that will be in the classroom, the materials that will be in the library. Parents have a choice. Every teacher also has alternate materials at the ready should a parent say, I'm not comfortable with my child in your, let's just pick a class, your English class, your language arts class. English class shows my age. Anyway, language arts class, reading what you've selected. The teacher's prepared with something alternate. So I'm here to tell you there's nothing scary happening in the curriculum. There's nothing scary happening with books that our teachers have chosen. And parents, you have alternate options. Thank you.
I've read the library policy, and I think it's very sensible, and I think this is a case where the school board has really done the right thing. They've said it, they've entrusted decisions about what books will be in the library to a committee, librarians and media group, and generally I think, you know, respect the judgment of those professionals, and that's exactly the way it should be done. I'm happy that a few years ago, when there were efforts to push policies to restrict certain kinds of books in the library, that was rejected by the board. As far as what is the importance of libraries, I'll just say that when I was a kid in school, the library was just this great place of exploration for me. From you know, the age of 3, or the grade 3 that is probably the earliest I remember, maybe 1 or 2, just exploring the library and seeing all these incredible books. As a high school student, seeing books that were challenging to me. I mean, so there was a book about the lives of the saints, and so I read, you know, all of the Catholic saints at a public school. That was great to see that. There was a book about political repression in America that I read. And I really appreciated the sort of variety of viewpoints that were there, and I trust that that's what's going on at Gettysburg Schools as well.
Thank you very much. I have one final prepared question, and then we'll turn it over to the audience questions. So if we can have our student volunteers just start to collect those cards, we would greatly appreciate it. You can just hold them up and pass them down so people don't have to jump over each other. All right, the next question is, the Adams County Technical Institute is in the planning phase of a new campus, which will be supported by all partner schools, including the Gettysburg Area School District. Can you please share your thoughts on how ACTI and partner schools can best work together to serve our students? And Ms. Harrison, we're starting with you for this one.
Yes, as I had said in my previous answer, the ACTI program is an excellent program. We're turning students away right now. So the push is to get a new facility and allow more students to be a part of that. I believe all the superintendents in the district that are a part of it, and I think it's 5 of the 6 schools in our county are part of our Tech Institute, they all meet and they have discussions about what the next steps are for this program. So I believe it's a collaboration of the districts in the county that are working towards this goal.
The Adams County Technical Institute has a board of directors, and there are representatives from every school district, the 5 of the 6, as were referenced, that are liaisons to ACTE. So the question, I think, is how can the districts partner with ACTE? I think that the partnership is continuing to provide support for the new building. That really does need to happen. We are at capacity at the current building, which is in Gettysburg. We turn students away every year that would really very much like to pursue futures in those kinds of jobs, and it's important that we provide that. I think that, well, please show me that 15, because now I've just gone blank. But I think that, anyway, so the 1% tax increase that the Gettysburg School District passed in June, I know gave some people real heartburn, but I want to emphasize to all of us that that 1% was fully 100% for ACTE toward the realization of the new building, which will benefit our communities in countless ways. Thank you.
You're up, Mr. Wise.
So I do think it's a good program. I think that expansion is a good idea. I know that there's demand for it. The issue that I have is the construction of a brand new campus on brand new land. It seems to me that there must be opportunities for expansion of existing facilities on high school land, perhaps a decentralized multi-campus arrangement. I keep looking at HAC, the buildings that HAC has that are, basically across the street from the high school that are half unused. HAC has programs, at least one program, Allied Health, that sort of overlaps with what the ACTE does. And so it seems like some kind of a partnership, shared facilities, might be a way to reduce the price tag on this. It's my understanding that Conewago District has built a giant facility on their campus, and I'm kind of curious as to what their commitment is to ACTE. And as I said, I'm on the outside of this. I don't know all the history and the politics as well as some other people do, but from what I hear, there are questions about whether they're going about it in exactly the right way. I just want to make one other plug, which is the rhetoric is often about, well, these kids aren't going to college, they're going to go to vocational school, or vocations, so they don't need to know, math and so on. That's nonsense. Everybody needs to know math. Everybody needs to know English. Everybody should have the ability to study languages. And when you see the budget, we have a 1% increase in taxes and a resistance to more taxes, and that 1% might go towards math programs and things that could benefit all students.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wise. And finally, Ms. Bowes.
ACTI has been my little mini project. I've been going to the monthly meetings that they hold. I've been researching the history of it and where it how it came to be, why we're behind the other counties, and the costs associated with it. I think it's a hidden gem what we have now. We do need the work that they're bringing. Right now, we have 7 programs in there. With the new program, we'll have 13, 14. I always get the number mixed up, but they're expanding it. They're providing additional capability, and they are limited. The building and trades class is limited to 17 students because that's all the elbow room that they have for the students to be able to go in there. The cost for the future, let me roll back. They asked Crabtree, Robar, and Associates to do the assessment as to what we needed, what programs we needed to do that. They, as best I can gather, are the premier organization that does all the forecasting for schools in the area. They've come back with 3 options: the school boards and the ACTI authority, which are the people that are going to overlook the building and the construction and buying of the land, chose option one, which was to build a new facility, because based on the estimates, it was about $1 million cheaper, higher, or lower. I think they're getting on a decision. They did ask Crabtree, Robar, and Associates to do an updated estimate. The costs went up significantly, mostly because of increased square footage costs and increased escalation of costs. We're going to have to look at that, and we're going to have to decide what we need and where we go with that. But I strongly support it, and all the districts are going to have to work together to get funding.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bose. And we got through everybody, right? Just wanted to double check. All right, now we're on to our audience questions. So we appreciate everyone taking the time to fill out these cards. Given the current controversy over DEI, what is your position on hiring minority teachers in the district? And Ms. Pratt, we're going to start with you.
I am so glad I get to do this one first. But first, I wanted to spend 5 seconds and say, just for anyone in the space who maybe isn't aware, that students who do attend Adams County Technical Institute, they do actually spend part of their day in their home school building taking classes like language arts and math and things like that, just so we all know that. So listen, I don't think that something like DEI goes in and out of fashion. I think that it is something that should be embedded in our very fabric, period. So I actually also serve on a committee in Gettysburg called Pathways to Racial Justice. And I'm very, and to do that, we can't be taught in a silo. We must be exposed to everything in the greater world around us. And we have real opportunity to do that in our public schools.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wise.
So the Gettysburg Area School District has one teacher of color. And I think that is I think that's a symptom of failure. That is a signal that the hiring process, there is something wrong with the hiring process. And I'm not saying that people are racist. I'm saying that whatever procedures are being followed don't seem to be attracting a pool of applicants that will bring a more diverse pool of people to Gettysburg. At the college, as long as I've been at the college, we have wrestled with how do you get qualified, a diverse pool of applicants to apply to Gettysburg College, and what are the policies that you use in the hiring process to eliminate implicit bias, and to make sure that you're actually getting the best candidate. And DEI has such a horrible, it's been tainted by the political rhetoric that DEI, but it really means having a fair process where people of all backgrounds from different parts of the state can apply for jobs at Gettysburg, and we can pick the very best ones. And I think that if we have processes, and I'd like to look into the hiring process and make sure that the schools are using sort of the state-of-the-art policies, that if we have policies that ensure a diverse pool and a fair process, that we will get more teachers of color at Gettysburg.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bose. Same question.
I would love to see that our teachers and staff at Gettysburg reflect the diverse population that we have here, as well as maybe even expand so we can learn from other cultures, other approaches to life. Because lots of times our students, they learn just by talking with their teachers and finding out about life at home or growing up, and you get such a cultural education if you have a varied community. But in order to do that, we really need to work on our recruitment attempts of going forward. Right now, all I see is mainly the jobs posted on the website. I don't know. They may go and do in newspapers and others, but I haven't seen or read anything where we made a concentrated effort to recruit teachers outside of the local area, going to other colleges all around the state, even down to Maryland, across the border there. But it takes an effort to do that. And then also, when you want to bring other people, we're going to have to work with our local businesses, the county commissioners, the townships, because if somebody that's not local to here, a different culture, we want to make it sure that they're welcome here and that they want to come here and they want to move here and start teaching our children. And it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a community effort to do that, and I hope we can do that with the next board.
Thank you very much. Ms. Harrison.
Well, I can tell you 30 years ago, when I was in the district, there was one African-American teacher then, and now he has since retired. But it is not a district that has been able to hire people of diverse backgrounds. Part of the problem I see is that if you look at the Pennsylvania schools, and we don't have to stick with Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania schools are putting out about 50% less teachers than what they did 10 years ago. So the pool of what we're pulling from is difficult. But to follow what you were saying is we have to market. We have to make people feel comfortable. And I do think administrators are doing that. I think they're looking at applications. The problem is they're not getting the applications. So how do we get the applications? How do we entice people to apply at Gettysburg? And that's a huge task for all of us.
Thank you very much. Next question is, how do you plan to actively engage parents, community members, and taxpayers in the district's decision-making process? Mr. Wise, we start with you.
Well, in attending school board meetings, I've noticed that participation from the community is sort of pro forma at that level. I don't get the sense that the school board has a system in place to really get feedback and views from the public, from parents, from students, from members of the community. So I think town hall meetings of some kind would be a good idea, so that parents and community members can just go with a back and forth, talk to members of the school board. I don't know exactly what it is about the structure of the school board meeting and why they begin each one saying this is open to the public but not a public meeting. It mystifies me what they mean by that, but it seems to me, I get the sense that that this is a way to sort of avoid the kind of conversations that they otherwise might have. I don't know. The coaches controversy, it was one of those rare times when a group of parents were so agitated that they finally got the board's attention, and the board was forced to sort of to change their views on that issue. It just took a lot of activism on the part of the parents, and I don't think it should be that hard. I think you should be able to get your views and get a response from the school board members.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bose.
When I was a program manager, I was fortunate to work under a commander, and one of the things he would do would be hold an annual meeting with all the stakeholders. So he had presentations provided by the different program managers for their different systems that they were giving to the fleet. The fleet would come and give their gripes, effectively, what was going on. The program managers, the budget people would say, hey, this is where our dollars were. But the best part and the piece I admired the most was the man that was in charge, the commander in charge of logistics, literally had a legal pad. And as people wrote their gripes, he took them down, wrote them, and later somebody scribed them or typed them up for him. And we were able to balance all those concerns. I actually took that same process in a PTA meeting when the parents were all upset about something. And we had 2 nights where I was scribbling in my composition book, because I didn't have the legal paper handy. And I did all their concerns. And I was able to consolidate what they had to say, what they wanted, and gave a path forward to go forward. I think something like that may be feasible. It's something I'd like to see happen. Whether legally we can do that or PA law gives us a challenge, but there's always a way, a workaround. So that was always something we would always do. If you can't do it, find the workaround. But if we could do something at least once a year where the parents could come. We take notes on what they have to say and then quantify all that information. I think that would be very helpful.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harrison.
And I do say that those school board meetings, the attendance at them is really very sad. Like, we do not have people in the community coming to them. Is it because they don't feel welcome? Is it because they don't understand? And I'm going to go back to my 40 years in the district, but there have been years in this district, 20 years ago, where people knew who the superintendent was. People knew who the teachers were. People knew what was going on in our district because they came to events. And our school board members and our administration were in the community. So I think it is really a challenge for us to be involved in the community, to have our superintendent and assistant superintendent and our faculty and our community, our administration involved in the community. There are a handful of teachers right now who are involved in things in our community, just a handful. Years ago, there were many. And I'm going to put this little plug in right now. Years ago, if you are from Gettysburg, you know that Memorial Day Parade was important to the students in Gettysburg. Now there's a handful of students there. That's a real tiny piece, but my plug of we need to get our community involved in our schools, and our community needs to see that our schools are involved in the community. And that Memorial Day Parade is just one little tiny piece of that, and now I feel better. I was able to put that in tonight.
Thank you very much. We're glad you're feeling better. And Ms. Pratt, we'll close with you.
I love that parade. I miss marching in it myself. I think town halls are a great idea, unless they just turn into gripe sessions. I think that if we really want to be genuine about the school board engaging our community, I think then the school board needs to be out in the community. I think it's important that the school board go to sporting events, be where the parents are, be where the community is. I think it's important that we march in the parades. I mean, I think that's important. And I think that, we are a community that really cares about each other, and as such, I think that to really engage community, we need to be in the community. Again, I like the idea of town halls, and I think that can definitely be something that can happen. I want to quickly explain why people can get frustrated when they come to the school board meeting and in public comment, they give comment, and then the school board sits there and doesn't say anything. Okay, we really are listening. We're truly listening. And if you look, many of us who are listening are also taking notes. And then when that meeting is over, we're having casual conversations because by law, we can't have any conversation, all of the board members, unless it's in a public meeting. But we begin to have casual conversations like, that person had a really good point. And then oftentimes you'll see something in public comment actually come onto a school board agenda for formal discussion and maybe even a vote. So I just wanted to assure everyone the school board really listens at public comment. It's by policy that we don't engage in a back and forth with you. And that's really, to be honest, for your protection more than anything in that moment.
Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to now move on to our closing remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their closing remark, and we're going to go in reverse order this time. So, Mr. Wise, we're going to start with you.
Okay, well, this has been fun. What I would like to say is I've taught at Gettysburg College for 25 years, and I think that some of the practices and the practices that we do at Gettysburg College can give us some insights about how to improve the schools. And I mentioned the hiring practices, that there's just a really deliberate process of making sure that ads go out to areas where we're likely to attract a diverse pool of applicants. Really outreach, active outreach is part of that. And so maybe adopting some of those policies. In terms of the community feedback, we do course evaluations with every course, so that every professor gets feedback from the students in the class. What if there was a semi-annual or annual survey that goes out to parents and students? What was your experience this year in the school? Did the school work for you? I can imagine a parent and a student sitting together and answering that survey together and turning in the results to the school board or to the schools. So that kind of thing might be helpful. And the other thing is we talk all about budgets, the tightness of the budgets, and we got to cut this and we got to cut that. We also need to be a little bit entrepreneurial. We've got to sort of pivot to trying to improve the education of the school district, of schools in the school district. And one way to do that is to sort of see what other schools are doing, schools that are turning out, are getting higher test scores and so on. What are they doing that we aren't doing? Why are so many of our students going to other charter schools and so on? Maybe we should be offering some of the programs that those are pulling students away from our school.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pratt.
I care deeply about my community. I did not ever envision that I would run again for our school board when my term ended in 2021. I did not run for re-election. I think it's good to have fresh perspectives on a board in general. I didn't have a crystal ball. I didn't know the federal government would turn education on its head with such sweeping, and I'll use a pleasant word, reforms at the Department of Education. I didn't know that the federal government would rescind promised funding from our schools. I am running again because I have experience serving on the board. Day one, I'm in action. And I see myself as someone who has the skill set and, frankly, the strength to persevere and protect the most vulnerable of our students and also the interest of our taxpayers. Thank you.
Nor did I see myself running for school board 8 years after I retired. I thought I was done. And I was pretty comfortable with that until the last couple years. And then I became very frustrated with the frustrations I'm hearing from parents, the frustration I'm hearing from. I think our district is doing an awesome job. I think there's a lot of places that we can improve. But I'm back in this now because I do love this town. This is where my heart and soul have been all my life. And so I think I can make a major impact. I have the leadership skills. When I was principal at James Geddes Elementary, we got a National Blue Ribbon Award. So if you know anything about that, that only 1% of half of the schools in the state get that. I didn't get that myself. I got it with my leadership and being able to get my staff to do what they need to do for students. I feel like I have that leadership to come onto this school board. And so I'm not done yet. I'm ready to run on this school board and make a major impact in this district again.
And finally, Ms. Bose.
As you can see, my experience as a program manager blends in well for a lot of the topics we have to cover as a school board. Key to it is listening to the stakeholders and balancing their requirements against the budget. But it's not all just about the money. The students are our future. I see that. I always thought someday I'll go on the school board. I'll do that maybe after I've done all my traveling and wanderlust. But a person that I respect very much in the community said, "Hey, Julietta, what do you think about running for school board?" I spent about a week looking at the policies, looking at old meetings, and then I saw what's going on, and I learned, if not now, when. So that's pretty much what helped me decide. And I have, since I've decided, I've been going to the policy meetings, I've been going to the facilities and finance meetings, I've been going to the school boards. I finally think I cracked the code on how they do stuff and how you have to do your homework over the weekend so that you understand what they're talking about. I've done public comment. I've been going to the ACTI meetings. I'm trying to learn as much as possible. I'm a relative newcomer. We just moved here, retired here in 2017. We loved Gettysburg. As our children were growing up, we would come here every weekend. My youngest son decided to come to this college. So we were here all the time because they have a lot of vacation time. But I love this community. I love what I see in the students. I love the energy that the students bring. And I do care that all our students can follow their dreams and become contributing adults to our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would really like to thank all of our candidates for taking the time to share their views tonight. As I stated at the beginning of this program, there are 8 candidates for the 4 seats on the district. So within the next couple of weeks, keep your eyes out. Hopefully those candidates who were not able to join us tonight, they were all invited, are able to share their views in other ways. And I'd also like to thank the Eisenhower Institute, the Public Policy Department, the Political Science Department, the Patrick Henry Debate Society. You guys did a great job keeping time. Thank you. The Pre-Law Club, the College Democrats, and the College Republicans for their support of this event. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Democracy Week. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I have closed all of these debates the same way because telling you to vote on November 4th is pointless, because if you weren't here, you're here, you're probably planning on doing it. But what I would like you to do is to reach out to 2 or 3 of your friends and encourage them to go to the polls on November 4th. Every 4 years, we have a presidential election, and we have pretty good turnout here in Adams County. Every 2 years, we have a local election for school board, borough councils, township leaders, and the turnout is pathetic. We need to do better. So please encourage them to go out to the polls if they're not already. Go out and have breakfast. It could be a good time. Also, I want to encourage you all to maintain interest in your local government beyond the election. You know, many times we go to the school board meetings and there's nobody there, and then some issue pops up, and we're, in Gettysburg's case, we're in the middle school and it's a packed house, and then that issue dies down and we're back to nobody. So please, if you can't make the meetings, most of them they're all live streamed here in Gettysburg. Continue to stay engaged with your local community, because that is extremely important. Don't just wait until something pops up and you're ticked off about it. Just keep your foot on the pulse of what's going on. And election resources, including sample ballots, will be available on our county's website, adamscounty.us. And everybody have a great night. Thank you very much.